What if I told you that the most untamed, primal, and perhaps most shamed part of yourself is the very key to unlocking your highest potential? What if the relentless urge of desire, the ghost of pleasure that haunts your quiet moments, is not a curse to be silenced, but a coded message from your own soul? I am not asking you to ponder this as a distant philosophical concept. I am asking you to feel it, right now, in the marrow of your bones. What if the very power you have been taught to spill in moments of fleeting release is the exact currency required to purchase your own genius, your own empire, your own spiritual awakening? Society has sold you a comfortable lie. It has taught you to equate this sacred fire within you with a momentary friction, a transient spasm of the senses, a cheap commodity to be consumed and discarded in the dark. It has handed you a thimble and told you it contains an ocean, encouraging you to empty it again and again, ensuring you remain thirsty, ensuring you remain small, distracted, and perpetually chasing a phantom. You have been conditioned to believe that your sexual energy is a simple biological itch that needs scratching, a pressure valve to be released, and in this scratching, a pressure valve to be released, and in this great collective hypnosis, you have been robbed of your vitality, your focus, your magnetism, and the incandescent clarity of a mind fully aligned with its own creative source. The great thinker Napoleon Hill, in his meticulous study of the world's most powerful and influential figures, stumbled upon a secret that has been whispered in esoteric circles for millennia. He saw a common thread, a hidden discipline that separated the titans from the masses. It wasn't merely ambition. It wasn't just hard work. It was a profound understanding of this inner fire. He called it sexual transmutation, a term that sounds alchemical, mystical, and perhaps even intimidating. But its essence is a truth you already know deep within. It is the art of taking the raw, explosive energy of creation, the very force that can bring life into the world, and instead of casting it out, you learn to draw it inward and upward. You become an internal alchemist, transforming the lead of base instinct into the gold of conscious creation. This is not about denial. This is not about repression, shame, or a puritanical rejection of pleasure. Repression is a dam built of fear. It is brittle and doomed to shatter, leading to obsession, perversion, and the very compulsions you seek to escape. No, this is about mastery. It is the path of the conscious warrior who does not flee the dragon, but learns to ride it. The journey we are about to embark on together, this exploration of a 60-day period of seminal retention, is not a challenge of abstinence. Is not a challenge of abstinence. It is an invitation to a profound homecoming. It is an experiment in radical self-possession. What truly happens when you stop spilling your life force for a fleeting moment of relief and start investing it in your own being? The results will not just surprise you, they will fundamentally rearrange your perception of reality, of power, of God, and of yourself. This energy, this raw, untamed force, is neutral. It is pure potential. When it is not understood, when it is left to run wild in the unconscious dungeons of the psyche, it becomes the shadow that haunts you. It manifests as addiction, as the endless, mindless, scrolling through pixelated bodies, the desperate search for validation in the eyes of another, the gnawing anxiety, the brain fog, the chronic fatigue, the gnawing feeling of emptiness that no momentary pleasure can ever fill. It becomes compulsion. It becomes the ghost in the machine, pulling your strings, making you a slave to a desire you don't even consciously understand. You think you are choosing, but you are merely reacting. This untamed energy leaks out of you, not used in the physical act, but in your scattered thoughts, your weak handshake, your inability to hold eye contact, your lack of presence. You become energetically porous, a ship taking on water, slowly sinking under the weight of your own squandered potential. But when you make a conscious choice to contain it, to honor it, something miraculous begins to happen. The leaks are sealed. The inner reservoir begins to fill. This is the first stage of the alchemical process, the containment. This is where the real work begins, and it is a journey into the abyss of your own soul. The first few days, you may feel nothing but the screaming of your old conditioning. The inner addict will throw a tantrum. Your mind will concoct 1,000 rationalizations, 1,000 justifications to go back to the familiar comfort of release. It will tell you it's natural, it's healthy, that you need it, and it is speaking a half-truth. It is natural, but it has forgotten its higher purpose. It is the voice of the condition itself, the small self, terrified of the power that lies dormant within you. This is your first dragon to slay, not with a sword, but with conscious awareness. You observe the urges, you feel its texture, its heat, its pull, but you do not identify with it. You are the sky, it is merely a cloud passing through. You are the master of the house, and it is a guest, a powerful guest. Yes, but a guest nonetheless. You do not kick it out, for it will only return with a vengeance. You sit with it, you breathe into it. You ask it a question that your conditioning has never allowed you to ask. What is it that you truly want? And here, in this sacred pause, the magic unfolds. Behind the immediate urge for physical release, you begin to perceive a deeper longing. The desire for sex is often not about sex at all. It is a cry from the soul. It can be a cry for connection, a desperate plea to feel less alone in this vast, indifferent universe. It can be a cry for validation, a need to feel wanted, desired, powerful in the eyes of another because you have not yet found that power within yourself. It can be a cry to feel something, anything, to escape the crushing numbness of a life lived without passion, without purpose. It can be a cry from your own creative genius, begging to be born, begging to be expressed, channeled into art, into music, into a business, into a life fully lived. This raw sexual urge is a messenger, and for years you have been shooting the messenger. By immediately gratifying the surface-level impulse, you silence the deeper message it carries. The 60-day journey is your chance to finally listen. It is a period of profound introspection, where you stop running, stop distracting, and finally turn to face the desires that drive you. You begin to see the patterns. You see how you've used fleeting pleasure as a sedative, a way to numb the pain of your unfulfilled dreams, your childhood wounds, your existential anxieties, the compulsive masturbation, the endless pursuit of new partners. You see them not as moral failings, but as misguided attempts to fill a spiritual void. The void cannot be filled from the outside. It can only be illuminated from within. And the fuel for that illumination is the very energy you are now choosing to conserve. This is the transmutation. You are not just retaining a physical substance. You are retaining your creative essence, your prana, your chi, your life force. And this conserved energy becomes a powerful magnifying glass for your inner world. The emotions you've suppressed will surface. The anger, the sadness, the fear, they will rise to be seen, to be felt, to be integrated. This is not a comfortable process. It is a purification by fire. You are burning away the dross, the illusions, the false self you have constructed to survive. You are stepping into the forge of your own soul. The warrior is not the one who feels no fear. The warrior is the one who feels the fear and marches forward anyway. As the days turn into weeks, you will notice a shift. The initial storm of urges begins to subside. It doesn't disappear, but it changes its quality. The desperate, needy craving is replaced by a potent, humming, creative tension. This is the energy building in your system. Your mind, once foggy and scattered, begins to sharpen. A new clarity emerges. Ideas flow to you with an astonishing ease. Solutions to problems that have plagued you for years appear as if from nowhere. Your focus becomes laser-like. The mundane distractions of the world lose their appeal. You find yourself drawn to activities that nourish your soul, not those that drain your energy. You start that project you've been procrastinating on. You pick up that instrument. You write that book. You build that business. This is the creative power of transmuted sexual energy. You are literally taking the biological imperative to create a child and redirecting it to create the life of your dreams. Your physical presence also begins to change. There is a new light in your eyes, a new resonance in your voice, a new solidity in your posture. People will notice. They may not be able to articulate it, but they will feel it. They will feel it. This is the emergence of true magnetism, of charisma. It is not a technique you learn. It is an energetic state you inhabit. It comes from a place of inner fullness. You are no longer seeking validation or energy from others because you are overflowing with your own. You become a source, a sun, and people are naturally drawn to your warmth, your light, your power. This is not an arrogant power that seeks to dominate, but a quiet, confident power that comes from self-mastery. It is the calm, centered presence of a king who rules his own inner kingdom with wisdom and grace. The sexual energy, now flowing upwards instead of downwards and out, vitalizes your entire being. It nourishes your brain, strengthens your nervous system, and imbues you with a seemingly inexhaustible supply of energy and vitality. You wake up before your alarm, eager to greet the day. You feel a deep, abiding sense of well-being, a joy that is not dependent on external sex fantasies. You are tapping into the very source of life itself. This journey inevitably forces you to confront your shadow. The shadow, as the great psychologist Carl Jung described, is the part of ourselves that we have repressed and denied, the parts we deem unacceptable. Or raw aggression, or fears, or insecurities, and yes, our untamed sexuality. Society teaches us to hide this shadow, to pretend it doesn't exist. But what we resist, persists. The shadow, when ignored, projects itself onto the world. We judge in others what we deny in ourselves. We become slaves to addictions that are nothing more than the shadow's desperate attempt to be seen. The path of seminal retention is a path of shadow integration. By consciously containing your sexual energy, you are starving the shadow's compulsive outlets. You are forcing it to come into the light of your awareness. You will have to face the parts of yourself you have run from. You will have to acknowledge your own darkness, your own capacity for obsession, your own deep-seated wounds around intimacy and self-worth. This is the descent into the underworld, the hero's journey into the belly of the beast. It is here, in the darkness, that you reclaim the lost pieces of your soul. You realize that this dark energy is not evil. It is simply power that has been misunderstood. The same rage that can lead to destruction can, when integrated, become the fuel for courageous action and the setting of healthy boundaries. The same lust that can lead to objectification can, when transmuted, become the source of profound sacred and soulful connection with another. You are not destroying the shadow. You are befriending it. You are integrating its power, bringing its raw energy into the service of your conscious will. This is the true meaning of wholeness. It is not to be a perfect, sanitized version of yourself, but to be a complete human being, one who has embraced both the light and the dark within. And as you do this work, as you become more whole, your relationship with the world transforms. You stop projecting your needs, your insecurities, and your desires onto others. You approach relationships not from a place of lack, of needing someone to complete you, but from a place of fullness, of wanting to share your abundance. Your interactions become cleaner, more authentic, more powerful. The desperate chase for fleeting pleasure is replaced by a capacity for deep, resonant intimacy. This path of transmutation is a spiritual path. It is the Kundalini Shakti of the yogis, the serpentine fire that lies dormant at the base of the spine. When awakened and guided by conscious intention, this energy rises through the central channel, illuminating each chakra, each energy center, awakening higher states of consciousness. As the energy moves from the lower centers of survival and procreation to the higher centers of love, expression, intuition, and enlightenment, your very perception of reality shifts. You begin to experience moments of profound connection, of oneness with all of life. The veil between the material and the spiritual becomes thin. You realize that you are not just a physical body. You are a being of energy, a conduit for the creative intelligence of the universe. The transmuted sexual energy becomes a bridge to the divine. It is the fuel that allows your soul to take flight. You begin to understand what the ancient mystics and poets spoke of: the sacred marriage within, the union of the masculine and the feminine, the Shiva and Shakti, the sun and the moon, inside your own being. The inner conflict between a spirit and flesh, between the sacred and the profane, dissolves. You see that it was all a false dichotomy. The body is the temple, the senses are the altars, and your life force is the sacred offering. It is through the full and conscious embrace of your so-called lower nature that you access your highest self. This is the great paradox and the most profound secret of this journey. The man who is a slave to his passions is trapped in the basement of his own being. The man who represses his passions in fear and shame is a prisoner on the ground floor, afraid to explore the mansion of his soul. But the man who understands, masters, and transmutes his passions is the one who gains access to all the rooms, from the deepest cellar to the highest turret, from which he can see the stars. It is on this very journey of ascent, of moving from the basement to the stars, that we often feel most alone. The path is narrow, and the challenges are real. The voices of the old world, the old conditioning, are loud. This is why we walk it together. What we are exploring here goes far beyond a simple lifestyle choice. It is a fundamental shift in how we wield our power as men. It's a reclamation of our inner fire. If what I'm saying resonates with you, not just in your mind, but in that deep, quiet place in your gut, the place that recognizes truth when it hears it. Then I invite you to make a commitment to your own journey. This is not just another channel. This is a forge, a place where we come to sharpen ourselves, to share our struggles and our victories. By subscribing and activating the notification bell, you are not just clicking a button, you are planting a flag. You are declaring to yourself and to the universe that you are ready to stop being a passive consumer of empty pleasures and start becoming an active creator of a life of purpose and power. You are signaling that you are ready to join a brotherhood of men who are waking up, who are choosing mastery over mediocrity. Do it now, not for me, but as your first conscious act of redirecting your impulse, a small but powerful step on the path of becoming the master of your own destiny. As you approach the 60-day mark, the culmination of this intense period of inner alchemy, you will look in the mirror and you will not recognize the man staring back at you, not because his features have changed, but because the energy animating those features has been fundamentally transformed. The frantic, anxious energy of the hunter has been replaced by the calm, grounded presence of the king. The haunted look of the addict has been replaced by the clear, penetrating gaze of the seer. You have not killed your desire. You have befriended it. You have not silenced your inner beast. You have harnessed its power. You have become the master of your own internal ecosystem. The result that will surprise you is not just the increased energy, the mental clarity, or the magnetic presence. These are merely symptoms, beautiful side effects of a much deeper transformation. The truly surprising result is the discovery of who you are without your compulsions. When you are no longer driven by the relentless, unconscious need for release, what is left? Purpose is left. Presence is left. A deep, unshakable connection to your own soul is left. You discover that your identity is not defined by your desires, but by your ability to consciously direct them. You realize that true freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want. That is the very definition of slavery, a slavery to impulse. True freedom is the freedom from the tyranny of your own unconscious drives. It is the power to choose from a place of clarity and inner stillness where you will invest your life force, your attention, your very essence. You will have tasted the difference between the cheap sugar rush of fleeting pleasure and the deep, nourishing sustenance of purpose-driven action. You will have walked through the fire of your own desire and emerged not burned, but forged. The journey does not end at 60 days. This is not a finish line. It is a gateway. You have now experienced a new baseline of vitality, clarity, and power. You have recalibrated your entire energetic system. The question now becomes, what will you build with this power? What masterpiece will you create with this newfound focus and creative energy? What legacy will you leave with this heightened magnetism and presence? The man who has mastered his sexual energy is a force of nature. He is the artist who pours his soul onto the canvas, the entrepreneur who builds an empire from a single idea, the leader who inspires others not with loud words, but with the quiet power of his being, the lover who can connect with his partner not just physically, but soul to soul, because he is not seeking to take, but to share from his own overflowing cup. Understands that this sacred energy is a gift, and that treats it as such. He has crossed the abyss that separates the boy from the man. The boy is a slave to his impulses. He spills his seed carelessly, chasing a pleasure that always leaves him empty. The man is a conscious steward of his life force. He understands that every act, every thought, every choice is an investment. He chooses to invest in himself, in his purpose, in his evolution. He has learned the ultimate secret. The power that creates worlds is the same power that resides within him. He no longer seeks God in the heavens, for he has found the kingdom within. This journey of transmuting the most primal of our energies is the ultimate hero's journey. It is the path of returning home to the power that was always yours. It is the process of remembering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning, shame, and distraction. You are not a creature of mere instinct. You are a creator. The fire that burns in your loins is the same fire that lights the stars. Do not be afraid of it. Do not be afraid of it. Do not be ashamed of it. Learn to honor it, to channel it, to become its master. For in mastering this energy, you master yourself. And in mastering yourself, you unlock the gates to a life more rich, more powerful, and more meaningful than you have ever dared to imagine. The journey has just begun. Welcome home.